ladies and gentlemen, every morning you wake up is more than the beginning of another day. It is another opportunity given by God to renew your mind, strengthen your spirit, and redirect your heart toward the life He has prepared for you. Many people wake up already defeated before their feet even touch the floor. They begin the day with fear, anxiety, regret, and doubt. They rehearse yesterday's failures instead of speaking hope over today's possibilities. But the words you speak to yourself each morning carry tremendous power. They shape your attitude, influence your decisions, and determine how you respond to the challenges ahead. The battle of life is often won or lost in the quiet moments no one else sees. Before the world hears your voice, you hear your own. Before circumstances speak to you, you speak to yourself. That is why you must learn to fill your mornings with truth instead of negativity, faith instead of fear, and confidence instead of discouragement. Your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant in it consistently will eventually grow. If you plant despair, you will live discouraged. If you plant faith, peace, and purpose, your life will begin to reflect those very why things. One of the most important things you should tell yourself every morning is this: God is with me today. There is something deeply comforting about knowing you are not facing life alone. The world can be unpredictable. Problems can arise without warning. People may disappoint you. Situations may not go according to plan. But when you remind yourself that God is with you, fear begins to lose its power. You no longer depend solely on your own strength because you understand that divine strength walks beside you. There are days when you will feel weak emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. You may not have all the answers. You may feel uncertain about your future. But God has never asked you to carry tomorrow's burdens with today's strength. He simply asks you to trust Him one day at a time. When you begin your morning declaring that God is with you, you shift your focus away from the size of your problems and toward the greatness of His power. Suddenly, obstacles no longer seem impossible. Fear no longer controls your decisions. Worry no longer dominates your thoughts. Peace begins to settle in your heart because you know the one who guides your steps never abandons His. Children, another powerful thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: I am stronger than what I feel. Feelings are real, but they are not always reliable. Some mornings you may wake up discouraged. Some days you may feel emotionally exhausted. You may feel unqualified, unnoticed, or overwhelmed by life's pressures. But your feelings do not define your identity. Your temporary emotions do not determine your permanent destiny. Strength is not the absence of struggle. Strength is the ability to keep moving forward even when life becomes difficult. There are people listening right now who have survived seasons they once thought would destroy them. You have cried in private, carried burdens silently, and fought battles no one else understood. Yet here you are. You are still standing. That means there is strength inside you greater than you realize. Every morning you must remind yourself that difficult seasons do not last forever. Pain may visit your life, but it does not have permission to stay permanently. Challenges may test you, but they cannot define you unless you surrender to them. The human spirit is remarkably resilient when anchored in faith. Sometimes you do know. Discover how strong you are until strength is your only option. And often, God allows certain storms not to break you, but to reveal the power He placed within you long ago. The third thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: I will not let fear control my life. Fear is one of the greatest enemies of purpose. Fear keeps people silent when they should speak. Fear keeps people standing still when they should move forward. Fear convinces people they are incapable, unworthy, or destined to fail. But fear is a liar that thrives on uncertainty and hesitation. So many people spend their lives imprisoned by what if. What if I fail? What if people reject me? What if things do not work out? But rarely do they ask, what if everything works according to God's plan? What if this opportunity changes my life? What if this challenge becomes the very thing that strengthens my character? Fear always magnifies the negative, while faith focuses on possibility. You cannot fulfill your purpose while constantly bowing to fear. Courage does not mean you never feel afraid. Courage means you refuse to let fear make your decisions. Every meaningful accomplishment requires stepping beyond comfort zones. Every season of growth requires trusting God beyond what you can currently see. If you wait until fear disappears completely, you may wait forever. But when you choose faith over fear, something powerful happens inside you. You begin to realize that God never intended for you to live trapped by anxiety. He created you to walk in confidence, freedom, and purpose. The fourth thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: my life still has purpose. There are moments in life when disappointment can make people feel forgotten. Failure can make people feel useless. Delays can make people question whether their future still matters. But as long as you have breath in your body, God still has a purpose for your life. Your current situation is not the final chapter of your story. Some people believe that because they made mistakes, their future has been ruined. But God specializes in restoration. He has a way of taking broken seasons and turning them into testimonies of grace. Your setbacks do not cancel your destiny. Your failures do not disqualify you from being used by God. Sometimes the greatest lessons are learned in the darkest valleys. Purpose is not reserved. Only for the famous, wealthy, or influential. Every person has been created with unique value. Your kindness may heal someone's broken heart. Your encouragement may keep another person from giving up. Your faithfulness in small things may open doors to greater opportunities later. Never underestimate the significance of your life simply because your progress feels slow. A seed buried beneath the ground may appear invisible for a season, but growth is still taking place underneath the surface. The fifth thing you should tell yourself every morning is this: today is a new beginning. Too many people carry yesterday into today. They carry old guilt, old disappointments, old bitterness, and old regrets. But you cannot fully embrace the future while clinging to the pain of the past. Every sunrise is a reminder that God gives fresh mercy daily. Yesterday may have contained failure, but today contains another opportunity. Do not allow one bad chapter to convince you the entire story is over. Life is filled with seasons. Some seasons bring joy, while others bring testing. Some seasons feel fruitful, while others feel painfully slow. But no season lasts forever. The same God who carried you through previous storms will carry you through this one as well. When you wake up each morning, refuse to begin the day defeated. Speak life over yourself. Speak faith over your future. Speak hope over your circumstances. Your words matter more than you realize. What you repeatedly tell yourself eventually shapes the way you live. And when your heart is filled with faith instead of fear, you begin to walk differently, think differently, and face life differently. Every morning, before the noise of the world reaches your mind, there is a quiet moment where your thoughts begin to shape the direction of your day. In that moment, you are either building yourself up or slowly tearing yourself down. Most people do not realize how powerful their words truly are. They speak defeat over their lives without even noticing it. They wake up saying, "I'm tired, I can't handle this, nothing ever changes, my life will never improve." And after repeating those thoughts long enough, they begin to believe them. Negative words become heavy chains around the mind and spirit. They drain hope, weaken confidence, and slowly rob people of joy. But when you choose to speak faith over yourself every morning, something begins to change deep inside you. Faith-filled words create strength where weakness once existed. They remind you that your circumstances do not have the final say over your future. The condition of your life may not change overnight, but the condition of your heart can change immediately when you begin speaking truth instead of fear. There are people who wake up every day already expecting failure. They prepare themselves for disappointment before the day even begins. They carry yesterday's pain into today's opportunities. But every sunrise is God's reminder that your story is still being written. The mistakes of the past do not have to control the direction of your future. You must learn to declare over your life, "God is with me. I am stronger than my struggles. I will not live in fear. I will trust Him one step at a time. Those words are not empty motivation. They are seeds planted into the soil of your mind and spirit. What you repeatedly tell yourself eventually becomes the atmosphere you live in. If you constantly speak hopelessness, your heart will become heavy with discouragement. But if you continually speak faith, peace, courage, and hope, your spirit, it will begin to rise above the storms around you. Some people wait for circumstances to improve before they choose joy, but faith does not wait for perfect conditions. Faith speaks life even while standing in the middle of uncertainty. You may not know how everything will work out. You may not understand why certain doors closed or why some prayers seem delayed. But speaking faith means trusting God even when you cannot yet see the outcome. It means waking up each morning and believing that your life still has purpose. It means refusing to allow fear and negativity to become the loudest voices in your mind. Many battles in life are won long before they ever appear outwardly. They are won internally, inside the heart and mind. A person who loses hope internally will eventually struggle externally as well. That is why protecting your thoughts is so important. The enemy of your peace often attacks your mind first. He fills people with doubt, insecurity, and fear because he understands that defeated thinking leads to defeated living. Some people spend years talking themselves out of their own blessings. They say things like, "I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. Nothing good has. PPNs for me." But every time you speak defeat, you strengthen the power of discouragement over your life. You must learn to speak differently. Even when life feels uncertain, tell yourself, "God is guiding my steps. I am not abandoned. I am not forgotten. Better days are still ahead." The words you speak in private matter more than the image you present in public. A person may appear confident outwardly while secretly fighting constant negativity inwardly. That is why your morning thoughts are so important. Before the pressures of the day arrive, you must intentionally fill your heart with truth. Do not begin your day feeding your fears. Begin your day strengthening your faith. There will be mornings when discouragement tries to settle over your heart. There will be seasons when answers seem distant and burdens feel heavy. But those are the moments when speaking faith becomes most important. Anyone can speak positively when life is easy, but it takes spiritual strength to declare hope while walking through difficulty. Faith does not deny reality. Faith simply refuses to believe that difficulty is greater than God's power. When David stood before Goliath, everyone else focused on him. Dan the size of the giant, David focused on the greatness of God. Fear magnifies problems, but faith magnifies God's ability to carry you through them. You must stop measuring your future by your current circumstances. Temporary struggles do not determine permanent outcomes. Some of the strongest people are those who kept believing during seasons when nothing seemed to improve. They continued speaking life even while facing uncertainty. And eventually their faith carried them into a new season. Your mind cannot remain healthy if it constantly consumes negativity. Be careful what voices you allow to shape your thinking. Some people surround themselves with fear-filled conversations every day. They constantly hear criticism, hopelessness, anger, and doubt. Over time, those voices begin to influence the way they see themselves and the world around them. That is why you must intentionally guard your heart and renew your mind daily. When you wake up each morning, remind yourself that you are not defined by your failures, your fears, or your past mistakes. You are not limited by the opinions of others. God sees potential in you that you may not yet see in yourself. He knows the strength hidden beneath your struggles. He knows the purpose attached to your life. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is simply refusing to give up on yourself. It is choosing to believe that even after disappointment, heartbreak, or failure, God still has a plan for your future. It is looking at another difficult day and saying, "I will keep trusting. I will keep believing. I will keep moving forward." Fear has a way of entering quietly into a person's life. It rarely announces itself loudly in the beginning. Instead, it starts with small doubts, unanswered questions, painful disappointments, and negative thoughts that slowly grow stronger over time. Before long, fear begins shaping decisions, controlling emotions, and limiting possibilities. Many people are not living according to their true potential because fear has convinced them to stay trapped inside invisible boundaries. Some are afraid of failure. Others are afraid of rejection, loss, uncertainty, or criticism. There are people who have carried dreams in their hearts for years but never pursued them because fear whispered that they were not capable enough. Fear has stopped countless people from taking steps of faith, speaking truth, rebuilding after failure, or believing again after heartbreak. It paralyzes the mind and drains strength from the spirit. But fear was never meant to control your life. God did not create you to live constantly anxious, discouraged, or defeated. He created you to walk in faith, confidence, and peace. The problem is that many people listen to fear more than they listen to truth. Fear constantly speaks worst-case scenarios. It tells people they will fail before they even try. It magnifies problems while minimizing possibilities. It causes people to focus more on obstacles than on God's ability to overcome them. Negative thinking works the same way. When the mind is constantly filled with hopeless thoughts, those thoughts begin to shape behavior and attitude. A person who continually tells themselves, "I'll never succeed," will often stop trying altogether. A person who constantly expects disappointment will struggle to recognize blessings even when they appear. Thoughts are powerful because they eventually influence actions, and actions influence the direction of life. That is why guarding your mind is one of the most important spiritual battles you will ever fight. Every day, you must decide which voices deserve authority in your life. Some voices produce faith, while others produce fear. Some thoughts strengthen your spirit, while others weaken your confidence. You cannot fill your mind with negativity all day and expect peace to remain in your heart. There are people who wake up each morning already carrying anxiety about things that have not even happened yet. They spend hours worrying about tomorrow while missing the blessings available today. Fear pulls people away from the present moment and traps them inside imagined disasters. But most of the things people fear never actually happen the way they imagined. Fear creates prisons built from assumptions and uncertainty. The enemy knows that if he can control your thoughts, he can influence your direction. That is why so many battles begin in the mind. Before a person gives up outwardly, they usually surrender inwardly first. Negative thinking slowly drains hope until people stop believing change is possible. They begin settling for survival instead of pursuing the purpose God placed within them. But you must remember that thoughts are not always truth. Just because a negative thought enters you, our mind does not mean you must accept it. Fear may knock on the door of your mind, but you do not have to invite it to stay. Some people allow fearful thoughts to replay constantly until anxiety becomes their normal way of living. But faith requires learning how to replace destructive thinking with truth. When fear says, "You are alone," faith says, "God is with me." When fear says, "You will never recover," faith says, "This season is temporary." When fear says, "You are too weak," faith says, "God's strength is greater than my weakness." The battle between fear and faith often happens silently inside the heart, but the outcome affects every area of life. Courage does not mean you never feel afraid. Even strong people experience fear sometimes. Courage means you refuse to let fear make your decisions. It means choosing obedience even when uncertainty remains. It means continuing to move forward despite discomfort. Some of the greatest victories in life happen when people decide to trust God beyond what they can currently understand. Think about how many opportunities fear has stolen from people. Some never repaired broken relationships because fear kept them silent. Some never followed their calling because fear convinced them they were inadequate. Some remained trapped in unhealthy environments because fear made change seem impossible. Fear will always try to convince you that staying comfortable is safer than stepping forward in faith. But growth rarely happens inside comfort zones. God often calls people into unfamiliar territory where dependence on Him becomes necessary. That journey can feel uncomfortable at times, but discomfort is not always a sign that you are moving in the wrong direction. Sometimes discomfort means you are growing beyond old limitations. Negative thinking also has the power to distort perspective. A fearful mind struggles to see clearly. It focuses only on problems while ignoring blessings. It remembers failures more than victories. It magnifies delays while forgetting past faithfulness. That is why gratitude is so powerful. Gratitude shifts attention away from fear and reminds the heart of God's goodness. There will always be reasons to worry if you search for them. Life is unpredictable. Challenges are unavoidable. But peace does not come from having complete control over circumstances. Peace comes from trusting the one with He remains in control even when circumstances feel uncertain. You cannot control every situation, but you can control what you choose to believe. You can choose faith over fear. You can choose truth over negativity. You can choose hope over despair. Those choices may seem small in the beginning, but over time they shape the condition of your heart and the direction of your future. Sometimes people become so accustomed to negative thinking that they no longer recognize how damaging it has become. They speak defeat constantly without realizing the weight those words carry. But transformation begins when you intentionally renew your mind daily. Replace hopeless thoughts with promises of hope. Replace fear-filled assumptions with faith-filled expectations. There are still blessings ahead of you. There are still opportunities waiting for you. There are still prayers that God is capable of answering in ways greater than you imagined. Do not allow fear to convince you that your future is already determined by your past disappointments. God is still able to open doors no person can shut. He is still able to restore broken things, strengthen weary hearts, and guide uncertain lives. The moment you stop allowing fear to dominate your thinking, you begin reclaiming the peace and confidence God intended for you to have. Every single morning you wake up, you are standing at the doorway of a brand new opportunity. No matter how difficult yesterday may have been, the gift of a new day is proof that your life still carries purpose. Too many people live trapped in the memories of their past mistakes, past disappointments, and past failures. They replay painful moments in their minds over and over until they begin to believe their future can never be better than their past. But God never intended for you to spend your life chained to what already happened. One of the enemy's greatest strategies is convincing people that their best days are behind them. He wants people to believe that because they failed once, they are permanently disqualified. He wants them to think that because they experienced heartbreak, betrayal, or disappointment, joy will never return again. But failure is not final when God is involved. Broken seasons do not have the authority to cancel divine purpose. There are people listening right now who have quietly lost hope. Outwardly, they continue functio, smiling and carrying responsibilities, but inwardly they feel exhausted. Life has not unfolded the way they expected. Prayers seem delayed. Opportunities disappeared. Relationships changed. Doors closed unexpectedly. Over time, disappointment settled into their hearts, and now they struggle to believe anything good still lies ahead. But every morning God allows you to wake up as evidence that He is not finished with your story. Purpose is not determined by your age, your past, your financial condition, or the opinions of others. Purpose comes from God, and what God places within you cannot be destroyed by temporary circumstances. Some people think purpose only belongs to those standing on large stages, building businesses, or receiving public recognition. But purpose is often revealed through simple acts of faithfulness, kindness, obedience, and perseverance. Sometimes your purpose is found in encouraging someone who feels broken. Sometimes it is found in remaining faithful during seasons when no one notices your struggle. Sometimes purpose is discovered through pain itself, because the very battles you survive may one day become the testimony that helps another person keep going. You may not fully understand why certain seasons were necessary, but God wastes nothing. Even painful experiences can become preparation for future strength. The struggle you once thought would destroy you may actually be shaping the wisdom, compassion, and resilience you will need later. Some of the strongest people are those who walked through dark valleys and still chose to trust God. A new beginning often starts in the mind before it appears outwardly in life. You must first believe that change is possible. You must stop speaking as if your future is already defeated. Some people wake up every day repeating negative declarations about themselves and their circumstances. They say nothing will ever improve. I'll never recover. I'll always struggle. But words like those keep people emotionally trapped in the past. God's mercy is renewed every morning because He understands that human beings need fresh hope daily. Yesterday may have contained pain, but today carries new possibilities. Yesterday may have included failure, but today offers another chance to rise again. You cannot rewrite the past, but you can decide that your past will not control your future. There are moments when life feels painfully slow. You pray for change, but everything appears unchanged. You wait for answers, but silence seems to surround you. During those seasons, many people begin doubting their purpose. They assume that because progress is invisible, nothing meaningful is happening. But some of God's greatest work happens beneath the surface, where human eyes cannot yet see it. A seed buried underground appears hidden and forgotten, but growth is still taking place in silence. In the same way, your current season may not look impressive outwardly, but God may still be preparing you inwardly for something greater ahead. Delays are not always denials. Sometimes God uses waiting seasons to strengthen character, deepen faith, and prepare hearts for future responsibility. You must also understand that purpose is rarely fulfilled without challenges. Every meaningful journey involves obstacles, uncertainty, and moments of discomfort. But difficult seasons are not proof that God abandoned you. Often they are proof that growth is taking place. Muscles grow stronger through resistance, and faith grows stronger through testing. Some people give up too quickly because they expected the path to purpose to be easy, but purpose requires perseverance. It requires continuing forward even when emotions fluctuate. It requires trusting God even when circumstances remain unclear. The people who experience transformation are often those who refuse to quit during difficult seasons. There is also great power in letting go of what no longer belongs in your future. Some people cannot embrace new beginnings because they continue holding on to old pain, old bitterness, old guilt, and old regrets. But healing begins when you surrender those burdens to God. Carrying yesterday's wounds into every new season only prevents you from experiencing peace today. Forgiveness is part of new beginnings. Forgiving others does not mean what happened was acceptable. It means you refuse to allow bitterness to control your heart any longer. Sometimes you must also forgive yourself. Many people remain trapped because they constantly punish themselves for past mistakes God already forgave. They live with shame instead of freedom. God does not define you by your worst moment. He sees who you can become through His grace. The enemy reminds people of their failures to keep them discouraged, aged, but God reminds people of their purpose to keep them moving forward. Each morning you have a choice. You can wake up focused on what went wrong, or you can wake up believing that God still has good plans for your life. You can remain imprisoned by fear and regret, or you can step into the new beginning God offers you today. No matter how broken the previous chapter may have been, another chapter is still being written. No matter how long the night felt, morning eventually arrives again. God is able to restore what seemed lost, strengthen what became weak, and breathe hope into hearts that nearly gave up. Your future is not determined by the pain you experienced yesterday. Your future is shaped by the faith you choose to carry into today. Ladies and gentlemen, life changes when you change the words you speak over yourself each morning. The battles you face are not only around you, many of them are happening within you. That is why you must guard your heart, renew your mind, and fill your spirit with faith every single day. The way you begin your morning often determines how you will walk through the rest of your day. If you begin with fear, doubt, and negativity, those thin G's will weigh heavily upon your heart. But if you begin with faith, courage, hope, and trust in God, you will discover strength you did not know you possessed. Never underestimate the power of speaking life over yourself. Remind yourself that God is with you, even in uncertain seasons. Remind yourself that fear does not control your future. Remind yourself that your mistakes do not cancel your purpose. Every new sunrise is proof that heaven has not given up on you. There is still purpose ahead of you, still growth ahead of you, still healing ahead of you, and still blessings that God can bring into your life at the right time. Do not allow yesterday's disappointments to steal today's hope. The past may explain your pain, but it does not have permission to define your destiny. Keep walking forward even when progress feels slow. Keep believing even when answers seem delayed. Keep trusting even when the road feels uncertain. God often does His greatest work in seasons when people are tempted to give up. One faithful thought can replace years of fear. One moment of courage can change the direction of a life. One morning of choosing hope over despair can begin a completely new chapter. The enemy wants you to believe you are weak, forgotten, and defeated, but God says you are still loved, still guided, and still created for a purpose greater than your fears. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, do not rise with defeat in your spirit. Rise with faith. Rise with expectation. Rise with confidence, knowing that God is already walking ahead of you. Speak peace over your mind, strength over your heart, and hope over your future. And no matter what challenges come your way, never forget this truth. With God beside you, your best days are never behind you, they are still ahead of you.